can you give us the latest details, please, on Erik Ten Hag's future in charge at the club?
Yeah, obviously this review from Ineos and Manchester United over the season is ongoing right now. It's probably a bit of an extra headache for Ineos with Manchester United winning that FA Cup final, which none of us predicted on last week's pod. I don't think many people would have predicted United's win and the performance as well. I thought Erik Ten Hag got his tactics spot on and United did deserve to win the final, but again, it's left more question marks than answers right now after that cup win as well. Whether what's going to happen with Erik Ten Hag as well. A lot of support now for the Dutchman to remain at Old Trafford, which looked very unlikely heading into that final. All this build-up to that cup final was dominated by talk that he was going to face the sack, whatever the outcome of the result. So it would be a massive U-turn, I think, now by Manchester United if they were to keep faith with Erik Ten Hag and let him remain as manager. Obviously, he will look at what he's done there at Old Trafford in the last 2 seasons, 2 trophies. Obviously, this season in the Premier League has been nowhere near good enough, finishing in 8th place, the worst ever finish in the Premier League, and a minus goal difference as well. So, yeah, I'm sure Ineos won't just be swayed by that FA Cup win. I'm sure they will look at the overall picture as well. But, yeah, I think the whole managerial situation at Old Trafford right now is probably as clear as mud right now with that win sort of maybe giving Erik Ten Hag a stay of execution, which I think would come as a big surprise still to me that they did decide to keep with him. But maybe it's down to the lack of outstanding candidates out there to take over from Ten Hag. So Manchester United might look at it and think, right, let's give Erik Ten Hag at least another year and see what he does, because there's no one out there that we feel will improve the situation or is better than the Dutchman right now. So, yeah, everything is pretty much up in the air, and then we'll know more once this review is concluded and what Manchester United and Ineos are deciding to do.
I mean, Paul, if they do conclude that he is to stay, do you think, a bit of like Pete mentioned in there, will it be a year? Could they give him sort of a long-term future at the club, or will it simply be a stopgap to try and prove himself and then assess going into next season, this time next year?
He'll be gone by Christmas. It'll be the biggest mistake that they make. You look at this season, you look at the way that they've performed. There's all talk. One game doesn't mask a whole season. I mean, yes, you do get hoodwinked into, they had a great performance. He got a tune out of his team. But actually, 2 weeks before that, did he get a tune out of his team at Selhurst Park when they got beat 4-0 and the way that they played? There's performances in that season. And looking at the stats this season. So last season, they finished 3rd with the League Cup. And the points they had, 75. This season, they finished 8th with 60 points. I mean, it's ridiculous, the difference. So compare this season to last season. 5 places lower. They suffered 5 more defeats, 15 less points, minus 16 worse goal difference, and 15 more goals conceded. And that's only in the Premier League, by the way. You look how awful they were in the Champions League in a group that had Bayern Munich, Copenhagen, and Galatasaray. No disrespect, but Copenhagen and Galatasaray shouldn't be taking points off Man United, shouldn't be beating Man United. Man United should be qualifying at least second out of that group with Bayern Munich. They won 1 game at home against Copenhagen. An FA Cup final doesn't mask a whole season of woes. His recruitment's been awful. The players that he's brought in, they've not been good enough. They need a big change there with Ineos coming in, with Sir Jim Ratcliffe coming in. We spoke before about the foundations, the backroom staff, everything else. While Pochettino's on the market, go and get a manager like that. Go and get Mauricio Pochettino, somebody that's been touted for Manchester United for a long time. I just think you're just delaying the agony. I mean, it's a phrase we use quite often, kicking the can down the road. But I think with Erik Ten Hag, you would just be kicking the can down the road and waiting for the next manager to come in. United have been linked with Kieran McKenna. They've been linked with Gareth Southgate. They've been linked with Pochettino. They've been linked with De Zerbi. I mean, how can Ten Hag carry on in that dressing room when a few weeks ago they said that all the players are for sale apart from Garnacho, Højlund and Kobe Mainoo, and he's got to go back in that dressing room and get the best out of those players? I just think that it's very, very narrow-minded to think that one game would mask a really poor season from a Manchester United point of view. But actually, when you look at it, the bookmakers don't often get it wrong. I mean, he was quite odds-on favourite to leave Manchester United, but you look at the odds now, they've really swayed in his favour of actually staying there. So, it's a personal opinion on what the club do. It will be interesting to see. But I mean, all the stats say that he shouldn't keep his job, not on the back of one game. But the bookmakers don't often get it wrong. And at the moment, he seems favourite to stay.
Pete, you've written countless articles on United's targets, transfer plans. What are their plans going into the summer, please? And actually, are there any names you can mention they might be targeting to bring in to strengthen, a bit like what Paul was talking about there?
Yeah, whoever the manager is, they will need signings. There's no doubt about that. The squad has been really decimated by injuries this season. We saw that especially at centre back, where we had so many different centre back combinations, and obviously that's what Ten Hag pointed to, why the form hasn't been very consistent, because of so many personnel changes in defence. So yeah, centre back is going to be a key area of the team that United and Ineos will be looking to strengthen. There's been obviously strong links with Jared Branthwaite, which we've covered well before in the past, that he is amongst the top targets to try and come in to bolster that centre-back area of the team as well. And obviously they'll be monitoring Everton's situation with possibly the club needing to sell some of their sellable assets before June 30th or even after, just to sort of keep the club afloat with their ongoing financial issues. Glesson Bremer from Juventus is another player who's been on the radar for Manchester United. Scouts have been keeping close eyes on the Brazilian, so he's another one for centre-back. And also Jean-Claire Todibo from Nice, who obviously Ineos are involved in as well. He's another centre-back that United have watched on numerous occasions. So that shows, I think centre-back is going to be one of the key priorities that United are going to be looking at. From what I'm hearing, United don't have a massive budget this summer. That's going to be one of the key issues, either facing Erik Ten Hag or the new manager. They're going to have to generate money from sales. So that's why we'll probably see the likes of Casemiro being sold, maybe Anthony being sold if anybody would be willing to buy him on a permanent basis. We've already seen Rafa Varane leave, so he saves a lot of money on the wages. I'm sure there'll be others who will follow him out the exit door at Old Trafford as well. So yeah, I think whoever does go into United and the new Ineos structure at Old Trafford, they're going to have to be quite savvy in this transfer market, because this is a pivotal transfer window for them, their first summer transfer window for the new setup at Old Trafford. And yeah, as I said, there's going to be areas of that team that need strengthening. Centre back, central defensive midfielder, I think, is also needed in there. As you can see, Casemiro struggled this season, and somebody in there to help Kobe Mainoo, I think, in that midfield engine room is going to be vital for United if they are to build on the success of winning the FA Cup and sort of closing the gap on the top teams in the Premier League. And then we've talked about it numerous occasions, striker. I think obviously Rasmus Højlund has shown signs that he could be the long-term answer to United's goal-scoring problems, but I do think he needs some help in there, and bringing in a number 9 who can sort of share the workload and score the goals whenever Højlund's not available is something that United are desperate for as well. So yeah, it's going to be a big summer at United, but again, as I said, I think they're going to have to be smart in this transfer market, because I think they'll have to sell some players to generate funds, and then when they do have those funds, they've got to make the right signings, because all too often over the years they've made the wrong signings, and it's really cost them.
You've just watched a segment from Football Insider's brand new podcast, The Inside Track, with me, Lewis Pearce, alongside the guests on the show. Thanks very much for tuning in. Please do give the video a like, comment your thoughts on the topic, and feel free to share on your social media pages. If you want to listen to the full podcast episode, click the link in the description below. Keep your eyes peeled for plenty more content and exclusives here on The Inside Track.